Well, hello everybody. Today is going to be a subject about academics. My personal experience with high school academics. But this video is going to be about why you shouldn't try hard in high school, right? Why you shouldn't take a million AP courses and and try to study all day and all night for the SAT. Right. So the first reason why it applies to around half of people, which is that if you're planning not to go to college and you're planning to do uh, to learn a trade or a skill, um, then studying for trigonometry and vocabulary on the SAT or ACT or science sections isn't going to help you. And this is a big problem with the American education system is that what'll happen, or we don't have any sort of classes to train these kids that want to maybe work in plumbing or work in welding. We don't have any classes to prepare them for the future. I mean, yeah, we have some general classes that everyone should take, like history, American history, because our republic depends on people being politically competent enough to contribute to it and make it functioning, right? So that's why we should have history, right? I know some leftists, they don't, think the same way, but fuck them. So yeah, I mean, there are some courses that actually have value, um, but we're talking about the SAT here. As far as the SAT, and as far as math and science courses, for the most part, knowing an angle of a triangle or knowing what profusely means does not have an impact on how you are going to perform at your job. And this is a big failure of the education system, is that half of our kids are going into these technical jobs or trades, and we do absolutely nothing for them as far as their main career. We have math, we have science, which really don't apply. I mean, you could argue that maybe some algebra or some basic calculations are applied, but I would not say, let's put it this way. You can argue for algebra 2 being a minimum requirement for these kids. But we don't have any electives or free classes or clubs or organizations in the school that help pander to their needs. And so we neglect a huge portion of the student population that doesn't want to go to college. The SAT is useless. As far as I know, it doesn't help you in technical school at all. They don't care, right? They don't give a shit about your SAT score, your ACT score, right? It's not going to have an impact on how you do. So that's the first reason. If you're one of these students, don't worry about getting a 99th percentile on the SAT because there's literally no point at all. Maybe you can put it on, I mean, maybe you can brag about it, but I don't see it being useful or applicable for any of these jobs, right? Again, knowing the word profusely, oh no, okay, thank God. Knowing the word profusely or knowing what a quadratic equation is isn't going to help you. All right, so that's the first reason. But the second reason, let's assume that you do want to go to college, right? You want to go to college, and you want to get a STEM degree because let's be honest, liberal arts degrees you should not. Okay, right? If you want a liberal arts degree, don't get one because they're a complete waste of money and time. And there are really no good jobs. Remember the comfortable lives versus hard truths video? Not every career or not everything that you want to do, the world needs. Right? That should be one of the first lessons you learn in life, but our parents and the media and the education system tells us, well, you could do whatever you want to do and you'll be successful. Is that really true? No. No, it's not true. So this should be a hard truth that you guys have to accept, is that liberal arts is not going to be a good field for getting a job unless you're regurgitating the same shit to students by becoming a professor, which is like wasting 12 years of your life to get a doctorate degree, right? And probably make like, yeah, I mean, and the fields are probably oversaturated for professors in those categories anyway. Well, yeah, so I mean, it has no applicable use outside of getting your doctorate and becoming a professor, right? The only reason why I can think to take liberal arts is if you're doing pre-law, and I think lawyers are overrated because a lot of them don't make as much money as you think they do. It depends on the cases that they do, or what they specialize in. The field is definitely oversaturated with, as far as I know, lawyers, and they're not going to all be in Washington, D.C., testifying on Capitol Hill, right, and making $5 million a year. Most lawyers are not going to, it's not going to be that way, right? And it takes a long ass time to become a lawyer, right? Where with a 4-year bachelor's degree, you're probably going to make the same amount of money, right? The average lawyer, I think, makes like $80,000, $90,000, which sounds good, but that means 50% of them are below that, right? And again, you can get a good job by being an engineer or a computer scientist or a data scientist or even an accountant will beat some lawyers, right? So pre-med and pre-law are probably not worth it for their time, right? They probably just aren't for many reasons, like oversaturation, um, exaggeration of pay, uh, things like that, you know? So, yeah, that's what I would say to those people. But as far as liberal arts, don't get a career in it. Right? Pre-med and pre-law are special, but don't get a degree in liberal arts. Now, I'm not saying that it's not important to do liberal arts, to be educated in liberal arts. Right? Like if you wanted to do a STEM degree and in your free time you wanted to study history or you wanted to study, I mean, I think it should be a Gen Ed requirement that every kid takes American history. But if you want to study history of Prussia, or you want to study modern art, or you want to study art history, or if you want to study lesbian poetry from the 1600s, go ahead, do that. Maybe it will enhance your life experience. Just don't do it as a career, right? And the idea that, you know, you can do art in your free time and make it is also a comfortable lie. That's not guaranteed that you're going to make it by becoming an artist in your free time. So if you like your passions, like in liberal arts, do it in your free time, but don't count on them to make big bucks, and don't do them as a career. Simple as that. Now, so we got that out of the way. Now, STEM degrees, right? If you're going to college for a STEM degree, do you really need to be top SAT, top GPA in high school to try to get into a top 25 university? And I've read up on this. The answer is no, you don't. You don't need to get a 90, you don't need to study your ass off every single night from 2 a.m. and having to wake up at 7 a.m. to go to high school class. You don't have to do that every single night to try to get a 99th percentile on the SAT and the 4.9 GPA with 6 APs. It's probably not worth going to a top 25 university. Now, I think college debts are actually low for these universities because most of the kids get a lot of scholarships. But the thing is, and I know this is going to sound kind of ridiculous, but it's probably true, is, well, first of all, I've looked at LinkedIn, right? And I've looked at the statistics, and most employers these days do not care whether you go to Harvard, Stanford, Brown, Oxford, that's in England. They don't care. They've signaled that they haven't cared, and the reputation of these institutions has declined over the years, drastically. It has definitely declined with the introduction of DEI and Yeah, I mean, back in the day, employers used to think if you were from Harvard, you were some sort of genius. But nowadays, the reputation of Harvard in the business world is really declining. And you'll hear people that take business in Harvard and they're struggling to find jobs. So what I'll say to people that want to get into Harvard or want to get into Yale or want to get into whatever, the degree matters more than the school. There are degrees in Harvard where you will come out and you will make absolutely nothing and you probably won't even get a job, right? It's an oversaturated market, jobs right now. Um, just in all categories, but especially STEM. But yeah, I mean, you're not like Harvard business people complain all the time about not being able to get jobs, right? So keep in mind that if you're going to one of these universities, the degree matters more, right? I would rather be at a university like I am now, just like a non prestigious university, and have a worthwhile degree rather than going to some school whose reputations, top 25 university, whose reputations have been declining over the past 10 or 15 years and not get something that's employable. You understand that? So don't think that you have an easy way out and you can take an easy degree that avoids math just because you go to Harvard or Yale or Stanford or Brown or whatever. But what I will say is that a top 25 university really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Um, and so, as long as you have, I would say, maybe an 85th, 90th percentile in math on the SAT, and you have a good score in the science section, I would take the science section. Um, but you have a decent score in math. I would say I don't know SAT equivalents, but you can convert it yourself. I would say because I got a 27 in math, but I only took it once. I was depressed when I took it, and I didn't even know the ACT was on the day it was. So yeah, and I never retook it. Right, so 27 for me is really impressive. Plus, I'm from Oklahoma, right, and for my state, I'm in like the top 7, 6, 8% of students. So I've done really good for what I have. But and some, maybe the depression, that's just like a comforting lie because I'm going to be honest, I don't really know how much better I would have done on these sections if I wasn't majorly depressed. Um, but I think that if I actually really studied hard and if I actually really studied hard and I retook the ACT, I could probably get a 30 plus on the math section because I'm extremely proficient in algebra. But I decided not to retake the ACT, and it turned out it was completely fine. My dad was like, you should retake the ACT, you should retake the ACT," and I never did. But it turned out to work just fine, and the statistics prove it, and um, like as far as what employers want, they only care about the degree. And I am completing my math courses in university. I'm doing well. I got a 3.4 GPA last semester as a stats major. I was that close to making the honor roll. And I think I will the next couple of semesters as my classes get easier because as you go higher and higher, interestingly, you would think that they get more complex because you have your introductory courses in your freshman year, and then they progress. But once you get through like CS 1 and 2 and calculus 1, 2, and 3, and actually, as long as you're not taking diff EQ, um, your classes get easier and you have more time on your hands, right? So what I would say is, look at me. I didn't need to retake the ACT, and I'm well on a pathway to success. And I really don't think, I honestly do not believe that if you got an extremely high ACT score, that much would come out of it, right? I think what matters more is the degree you get, the level of degree you get. If you're going to get a master's, you want to go to a better school. But as far as you as a STEM undergraduate, right? As long as you get an employable degree at, and don't go to bums fuck school out in fucking the middle of a field, right? That's probably not the best option. As long as you get into a relatively well established school, you score in that top 85th, 90th percentile, which is very, somewhat achievable with practice. Not everyone's cut out for it, right? Um, you get decent grades at the college, you'll be fine, and you'll be making six figures, right? And that's the most, and um, that's pretty much what you're going to get. I don't think that scoring a 99th percentile on the SAT is really going to make your life outcome that much different. I mean, they're going to advertise it as if it does, but I really don't think it will. Personally, because the employers, like I said, have really started to dwindle on their interest in these top 25 universities. So, next I will say is that um, one final point, and I know this is going to sound redundant because I'm a big, like, non-PC, non-politically correct, kind of like do what's, oh great. I got fucking chased out. Okay. I'm fine now. I would say that so part of the reason why when I was in high school that I never try-harded um, on AP courses, on my GPA, and on my ECT, and was because I knew that I had a limited time to live my childhood. And I think that as a lot of people get older, and I kind of recognized this, that they wish they could go back to their childhood and have those years to themselves, right? And maybe you will earn more money if you get 99th percentile on the SAT and you go to Brown or you go to Harvard and you work your fucking ass off in the top academics, right? Maybe you will. But the time you get as a child is very limited. And once that's gone forever. You're never going to get that back. I mean, I have some confusion about reincarnation because I think I remember a past life. But assuming that it doesn't exist, listen, all right, you only have childhood one time. One time. That's it. So live it for what it is, right? Capitalize on your nice home life, your nice childhood friends, your nice. Now, I'm not saying be like a party kind of guy, a dumbass party guy that goes out every night and neglects his grades and gets all F's and fucking gets drunk and gets in trouble with the police. That's fucking idiotic, right? Don't be that person. That's a stupid fucking person, right? But what I'm saying is, like, hang out with your friends once in a while. Get B's and A's, and that's good enough. Get a 3.5 GPA. Get an 85th percentile on the SAT or ACT. And get your degree, and you'll be good. And you'll have a childhood that you're able to remember, right? And that you were able to live. And I realized this in high school. And I'm glad I did, because I'm one of the very few people that was able to recognize that I might regret this later, right? I basically know nobody like myself who has said I might regret these kinds of decisions if I don't, you know, if I commit to them, right? I've heard all the time, even from the smartest people, they're like, I neglected my childhood. I wasn't ever able to get that time back. I was never able to have a good time in my younger years, and that's gone, right? They have regret, it's kind of like part of their midlife crisis. And I recognize at the high school level that that was probably going to be me if I committed to getting 90, if I try harded. Because let's be honest, I mean, I'm very good at algebra, I'm very good at English, I'm very good at all my subjects, right? I really didn't study for much of them. And I was considered, although I was unidentified, intellectually gifted by the state of Oklahoma automatically because I scored top 3% in an intelligence test. Right? So I had the ability to try hard and get 99th percentile in the SAT and go to a top 25 university. Right? I probably did. But I decided not to take all these try hard courses because time is more important to me than money. Money I can make up. Time is something that I can't. So that's my advice. My advice is if you're going to STEM, get a decent SAT, ACT, go to a state college, get your degree, and you'll make six figures and you'll have a good life. You know, assuming that Elon doesn't flood the entire fucking market with H-1B people while he neglects Americans. So, anyways, yeah, that's all. Thank you. Bye.